Greetings, millionaires and future millionaires. I'm Lane Beene, a 28-year retired lieutenant colonel from the U.S. Air Force Reserves and former F-16 fighter pilot. During the past 20 years, I side hustled real estate investments from one single-family house into a portfolio of apartment complexes of almost 700 units and awards along the way that included Apartment Association Property of the Year and Multifamily Renovation of the Year. My purpose today is to help educate you on apartment investing and the benefits of multifamily opportunities. Today's topic is very important. During the last several weeks, our country has been bombarded with the coronavirus and the impacts of that global health crisis. That process has completely capsized almost the entire economy, global economy. There's no way I would have predicted 3 or 4 weeks ago, in the height of a booming economy, that today we would all be self-isolating. Every restaurant that I'm aware of has been closed for dining capability. Most businesses have completely shut doors, and apartment complexes have literally completely changed the way they do business. That change, I believe, will hopefully, and I pray, pass quickly because we will find a solution to the virus. Once we take the brakes off of the environment or off of what we have restricted the business to do, I hope and think that our fundamentals of our economy, which were strong 3 weeks ago, will quickly change and return us to normal operations. That's my hope, and I know that that's shared by you also for many reasons. But what will be the long-lasting impact of the coronavirus and the new awareness for health in our social life and then also in our business environment? I believe some of the things we're seeing now will probably fade away and be part of the past, but some of them are quite likely to change and stick with us well past the coronavirus and become a new standard for our business and our social interactions. What will those be? How will they change us? And how can we use that to better fit the market needs and the customer demands? Because that's really what we're trying to advance in real estate investments. Over the course of time, businesses and policies and markets generally change in small increments over years. However, the coronavirus has literally capsized the way we see business and the way we're conducting social interactions almost overnight, certainly within the last month. And as smart business men and women, and as investors, we need to use vision and use insight to see which of those changes will stick and which will not. I wish I had a crystal ball that I could tell you exactly what the right answer on this was, but unfortunately, I don't, nor does anyone else. However, there are several things that I know have a good likelihood of impacting either the near-term future or the long-term success of real estate and business. I've classified those into 5 different categories that I'd like to go over and talk about. And then at the end of those different areas, we can discuss what impact that will be to apartment owners and also to future investment possibilities. Those 5 areas are these. 1 is wellness, the awareness of sense of wellness, where you live, where you work, who you socialize with, what's their health condition. Number 2, the ability to do things virtually and remotely through our technology. Number 3, the process of e-commerce and how we shop, how we're researching information, how we're educating ourselves. E-commerce will, I think and know, stick with us. Number 4, the supply chain. Where do we get the products and how are those products delivered That trend or that will definitely change our business. We'll talk about that. And then the fifth one is our entertainment and social abilities or our social interactions. How will that change in the future based on what we've seen in the last 3 weeks? So those are the five major categories that I'd just like to real briefly kind of give you some ideas on what I've talked to industry experts on. And then at the conclusion of the last one, I'll kind of draw those together and talk about what I think the impact collectively of those could be, or maybe the top three or four. Okay, so let's get to the very first one. And what I've coined, kind of in an order of priority, is the wellness. As you know, the sense of wellness and the sense of health and the sense of a global pandemic like we see in the coronavirus literally has caused a mass panic in society. And even though you may be healthy, maybe you have a pre-existing condition or someone in your family, a young child or an elderly parent, that just because you're healthy now, you have to consider the impact of some virus or disease or outbreak, not only on your health, but also on the health of the loved ones and employees and employers that you work for. So our wellness factor will be elevated. And I believe this is a hard assumption that will stick with us. Imagine what next flu season is going to be like. There's going to be a great concern for, is the coronavirus or the adaptation of the coronavirus going to hit us this season in 2021? I think that's probably a good likelihood that at least we'll be more aware of it. All right. So those are some things that I believe. How will that change? Well, you may hear things like IEQ, IAQ. What do those terminologies mean? I've never heard of them prior to this, but those things, interior environment quality, interior air quality, wellness, okay, common amenities. And I'm speaking mainly of the impact to apartments and other features like your local gymnasium or your local church, your local area where you congregate, social club. What is the quality of the air? What's the quality of the wellness? How is that measured? What impact will that be on you? And certainly I think in the future that's going to do that. How do you interact with people, okay, as far as wellness goes? You're going to probably have less contact with people, and there may establish some protocols just internally or other things where you have a pattern of not shaking hands, or maybe you use your sick leave differently. You know, it used to be in the military, you just never called in sick, you just tough it through, if you will. But that's likely not to be the case anymore. If I'm sitting in a cubicle next to someone that is deadly sick with the flu, you know, I'm going to be concerned about that. Or at least I would think that would be the case more so than the past. So number one, the trend that I think going forward that I'm confident will stick with us is the wellness factor. And that will have an impact on apartments, the way they're operated, the way they're staffed, the way they're designed. Number two, remote and virtual capabilities. We've got to have Wi-Fi. You've got to have the IoT, Internet of Things. If your property or your education area or your work facility doesn't have IoT, Internet of Things, with 5G capability, Wi-Fi capability, point of service, self-service, then you're going to be obsolete in a matter of a short time. It's almost going to be like, that's not going to be an amenity anymore. It's going to be a requirement, much like indoor plumbing is today. If you don't have that feature, then your facility, work, or where you live will literally be obsolete. People are going to work more from remote sites. People are going to operate with teleconferencing, social media, education, off-site, more so than they have in the past. And I think that trend was probably likely to embark or adopt, you know, in the next 7 or 8 years. We would see more of that, but the coronavirus has accelerated that to, I think, in the next 7 or 8 months, we're going to see an adaptation of that capability, remote, virtual. What does that mean for apartments? Virtual leasing. Can a new applicant or a tenant find your marketing material online? Once they find it online, can they easily go from an interested applicant to a qualified lease or touring online, see what they need to see, and then move from that to a applicant and go through that process. If you don't have a process identified that's easy to use, then more than likely the tenant's going to just default and go to something that is easier for them to understand, navigate to, and get to that final, I'm ready to lease and move in on this date. And that very well may mean that there's no human interaction with that. There's no contact with a leasing office or a property management office like there was in the past. I still think there will be some, but I believe with a fairly high level of confidence that interaction will be obviously reduced for health reasons and just for ease of operation, and also for the ability that it's now, you can get a lot of it more conveniently and quicker. So the second thing is that virtual ability to explore, make decisions online is what I think. The third thing, e-commerce. Again, I believe this is a hard assumption that we are already seeing today. Okay. And I think that the coronavirus will only and has only accelerated what was coming 5 years will now occur 5 months from now. What does that mean? On-demand delivery. Okay, not only does that help us save time, but it may be even safer. Now you don't have to go to the grocery store, handle some type of cart, handle some type of kiosk. Now, for a very small amount of money, or even negligible free delivery potentially, you could get everything to be delivered to your housing area or your work area for very little, if any, cost. Very convenient. The return process is very convenient, and delivered on demand when you needed it, probably within a short period of time. Online ordering going way up. Mobile applications from your phone, from your smartwatch, from other devices we haven't even thought of yet, okay, is just going to be something that this generation and this capability now allows us to do. Non-cash transactions, okay, the day that you exchanged coins, the day that you exchanged dollar bills or $5 bills is going to be reduced. Paperless transactions where you come in, sit across from me at the desk, I give you a sheet of paper and a pen and pencil, you sign here, is probably going to be reduced. In fact, I know it. That's a good assumption. That will all be done online, through phone, more convenient, and also probably quicker, easier to store potentially, and then also maybe less contact. And I think that's going back to that wellness ideal. What does that mean for you as an apartment owner or an investor? That means the delivery protocols, the security protocols, the mail package traffic processes have to be defined and refined, okay, so that one, that tenant that moves into your apartment complex has the confidence that I'm going to be able to operate into this fifth generation society where everything is done virtually or through mobile applications. And I have the confidence that they can deliver a property, a package, or food delivery to my door, or maybe to a storage facility that will be secured and maintained either by management or maybe even in my own apartment. I don't yet know how that happens, but I know that that will be a market demand, and somebody will figure out how to do that well, make that an amenity, and then that's going to attract that new demand. And I say demand, maybe even requirement in the apartment industry, because new applicants or new apartment residents are going to want that feature, and they're going to want to ensure that their apartment can secure that package so they make sure that it's arriving on time. What does that mean? Grocery deliveries, that sort of idea, concierge services. Think of the bacteria and virus or the wellness factor for taking your trash out to the dumpster. And that may be something in the future that could be an amenity for an apartment owner, for concierge trash pickup or clean out. Again, thinking of the wellness factor and how we can serve our customers better by giving them that ability. Okay, that's for supply chain. The fifth one, entertainment and social. How will the impacts of COVID-19 and Corona impact the way we entertain ourselves and the way we socialize? Well, I believe there's going to be a lot more dine outs and deliveries than there will be restaurant dine-ins. Table side orders, okay? Delivered food, all right, I think is probably going to be more accepted. It's going to be more available. Restaurants are going to cater to that more as the market demands a clean environment, a more sanitized environment, and they feel like they can control their environment better than a restaurant could control a buffet, if you will, and type of environment. So I believe that's going to stick with us. What does that mean? That means that as an apartment owner, there's going to be more people eating at the apartment. There's going to be more capability. I think there will be less food prepared, food cooked, but there will be more emphasis on food preparation. What's the difference there? I'm not a very good cook. My wife is, I'm not. But since there will be more restaurants catering to that, my thoughts were, and again, this is just my opinion today, it's way too early in this to really kind of get a sense of all these trends will stick. But I think that the need to have some type of dining area would be emphasized as much or more than a cooking area. Again, that's just my thoughts, may or may not play out, but think about that. If there's going to be more of your tenants bringing food into the unit where they live, then the need to have a nice dining or high-class restaurant environment may be more important going forward. That may be something that you would want to amenitize for your residents. Hey, we have a nice island that can serve as a food preparation or staging area, and then also a food place where you can gather and you can have a meal together, and maybe less emphasis on the cooking portion of that is just something that I think could happen too. And then also, there's going to probably be, because of the social isolation and social distancing, more time spent inside. You're going to spend more time with immediate family, friends, probably less time in crowded areas, social settings. Again, I don't know exactly how that would plan out, and that may be one that just fades away. But again, just to bring that to the attention so that you can start thinking about how to reposition some of these assets, refunction some of your common area spaces, if that is applicable to you. Okay, so those were the 5 major topics or the major categories that I think will have some impact and will have some stickiness long past the coronavirus hopefully is cured, which I pray is very quickly. Those are, again, wellness, virtual or remote capability. Number 3 is e-commerce, supplies chain interruptions, and then entertainment and social. Not necessarily in that order, but I do think that's important to talk about. All right, so what are some of the impacts to apartments that I haven't already talked about? But let me go over them because these are the ones that I think are major and that you do need to make an immediate pivot, if you will, and just make sure these bases are covered. And then immediately, and then later on, determine what the stickiness is or the lasting impact of COVID or wellness so that you can make long-term adjustments if necessary. Well, one thing, operationally, the lease up, the management is going to go a lot less contactless. I don't know if that was a word, but I read that word and I like it. Contactless. There's going to be less personal contact. Okay. So your leasing ability, you need to have virtual leasing capability. Can a tenant get an evaluation of the property by the internet or by a digital presence on the internet? Because there's going to be, I can't go out of, I'm not supposed to go out of my house here. I'm in North Texas, so we're in essential travel only ban right now. But if I wanted to visit an apartment complex, is the leasing office even open? So how would they show me a unit? Is that unit been disinfected? Is it clean? Would I have a concern about going in a disorganized, unclean unit? I don't know. That may be something to take into account. So it's going to change lease up, showing, okay, and the virtual capability there, I think is going to be helpful, and it's going to be just part of normal market standard operations going forward. Maintenance. how is your maintenance man going to go into a unit where there is a sick or there is a potentially infected person? How do they do their maintenance in the future? Are they going to all be required to wear gloves, masks? That's something to certainly will have an impact on apartments and how that is treated. Cleaning and disinfecting. Between unit turns, is there going to be any additional cleaning items like disinfecting? Are we going to have to get some janitorial service or some type of sanitization above and beyond just wiping the countertops down? What about the amenities? Are the amenities like gymnasium, leasing space, WeWork facilities, if you have any type of restaurant or coffee maker, is that going to be the standard that it's cleaned, it's removed? Will people still be using it the same way? What about gym mats and exercise equipment? Is there going to be extra staff now to help make sure it's the janitor portion of that or the cleaning service of that is portion? I would think so. I would be more comfortable knowing that a staff member goes and cleans the countertop where the coffee's served, more frequently. Certainly that's going to give me confidence, and I think it would give other residents too if they plan to use that, or maybe just eliminate it completely. I don't know that for sure. Bottom line is tenants want a quiet, efficient, and healthy environment. They've always wanted that. But I believe that of those three components, there's always a balance between that and what they can afford or maybe what the priority is. And that last one, healthy, probably wasn't a priority because it was an assumption that all projects were the same level of health or wellness. And I think now you can, if you're smart about what you do and how you use your money and how you use your capital, you may be able to prioritize that health, market it, or do something that does actually increase the health and wellness component of your apartment. And that may be an advantage to you because it serves the need of the apartment owner better. They're going to like it better. And now you can maybe charge more money, or maybe they'll turn over a beat later, and these sorts of ideas. So that priority for health and wellness, I think, is certainly going to stick with us, at least for the short term. Okay, so we've talked about that. We've talked about the impact of the corona trends. What about investments now? You're an investor. Maybe you have an apartment you're trying to syndicate. Maybe you're an owner. How will the coronavirus and this global pandemic affect investors? Just some of my thoughts again. I don't have a crystal ball, but these are some of the things I've talked to smart people about. Because one, I think that there's going to be some money once the stock market recovers. There's going to be investors that want to flee the stock market, and they're going to want to look for safer investments. That may mean savings accounts. That may mean some other type of less volatile indication. I think that's a good opportunity for real estate. I think that's a good opportunity for, as an operator myself, to pitch real estate investments because of the stability and generally longer holding periods that real estate has versus stocks and bonds. You can't get into real estate easily and you can't get out easily. That means you generally have, a longer holding period than just bouncing in and out as the stock market goes up and down. So I believe there will be some money available and interested in pursuing real assets, and real estate certainly is one of the better ones for that. Going forward, I think there's going to be pressure in the next 9 to 15 months to drop or flatten out rents. In the next 3 months, certainly, because the Texas State Supreme Court has already put a hold on evictions, late fees, these sorts of things are being imposed by governmental agencies. So the next 2 or 3 months, there's not going to be any rent increases, I wouldn't think. There's not going to be a lot of turnover because you're not going to be able to evict tenants that aren't paying. I don't think there's going to be a lot of job changes as one tenant moves to another apartment complex or another city as the environment or their job changes. There will be some of that, of course, but I don't think there's going to be a lot of job movement. There's going to be a lot of opportunity for you to escalate rents on your pro forma. So in the next 4 to 6 months, I would expect a very flat rent growth structure, or maybe even pressure to decrease your rents to maintain occupancy or give people that have been affected by this a break. That's just my opinion. Some other trends that may be impacting this is the urban density concern. You see what's happening in the most urban areas, New York City. 50% of all the contamination or all the viruses occur in that one highly dense area. Look at what's happened in France. Look what's happened in Italy and Spain. Those areas where the highest level of infection is the highest density per person unit. That's multifamily. That's in high dense urban areas. Okay. Again, this is just an idea that I have. I don't have a crystal ball, but knowing now that we have the ability to work remotely, okay, we can work off-site. We're going to have teleconference and all the things that I previously discussed. Will that mean that the demand for moving out of the urban areas because of the wellness concern and driving residents to a suburban area or an outer-lying area, will that? I could certainly see that occurring. Will that occur? I don't know. But given the fact that there is maybe a heightened increase for wellness, and now that you're going to practice social distancing and staying away from other people, the value of space, the value of population density may increase. What does that mean? Secondary markets, outer lying areas out of the urban core may be more valuable. That's yet to be seen. That's just a thought that I had, especially combining that with remote work, working off-site. Just a thought. There's going to be less business operating from brick and mortar, okay? An example is retail. Look at the local mall and how it was utilized 10 years ago versus how it was utilized today. A lot of vacancies, a lot of stores have just moved to online because of e-commerce and the necessity and convenience of that. Does that mean that the office space will have to suffer the same results? A lot of these businessmen and women like yourself, perhaps, are working remotely. And once you kind of got through that first hurdle, may find it is as efficient and more cost effective to do that. I think there will be many companies that do that. Will that drive vacancies in office space? Can those office space be repurposed for multifamily or some other use? I don't know, but that's a potential trend. How will that less businesses operate brick and mortar affect multifamily and affect other real estate classes like industrial or storage space? Yet to be seen. But what I'm still confident in is multifamily, people have to have a place to live. And certainly with what we've already talked about, the wellness, I don't believe that's going to go down. And I believe that will be a strong industry that may not have any dramatic negative effects because of industry changes like retail has already and like office space don't know that for sure, but may have more vacancies going forward. And then the last one is just a more flexible common space. Remote working, okay, that's going to be increased, I feel like. Educational function. So imagine if you had an amenity like a clubhouse that had a ping pong table in there that may or may not be used a lot. Could you find some repurpose of that to become an education center or become a WeWork facility? You know that a lot of the kids now are working or going to school in their home. And so wouldn't it be a nice capability if they had an office, or not an office, but a desk space, a cubicle, if you will, where they could go to the apartment education center and there would be 10 or 15 desks, however many. They would be cleaned, of course, and desanitized, but they had a facility there where a laptop was available for them to study and link into their network class. They could Zoom. It would be a quiet place. They could education conference or teleconference there. Again, these are just ideas that I was thinking of on how we could repurpose some of our amenity spaces that may become less functional or just a different purpose of that. Roll-up desk. We have a desk during the day. At night, maybe there's a social function, because as we get more isolated, then we still humans have to have that need for social functions as well. So these are just some of the things that I feel like could be possible opportunities for you and for me to move forward on that. So that's the summary there. That's what I consider is the impact of apartment buildings. What's the summary? the world changes. Okay. I always bring this analogy up and I say, the captain of a ship's job is to go from port to port, point A to point B, and get there safely, most effectively, and quickly. Today, he has to, or every day, he wakes up and he sets a course. He makes adjustments based on weather, winds, currents, environment, the speed of his ship, the amount of fuel he has, is a constantly changing course. Sometimes he changes 2 or 3 degrees. Sometimes he makes a major change, but his job is to get to point B. In today's market, that's exactly how I view each day. Today, I need to look at what are the market demands, what are the customer needs, what is the current climate in the market, and I need to make an adjustment. Today's Saturday, I might have nailed it on Saturday, but realize Sunday's a new day, just like the ship captain has to reset and change each of those variables tomorrow. That's my analogy for business, and that's my analogy for apartment investing. Each day changes the market. Each day, as a smart investor and as a smart leader in business, we have to be aware of those variables, and we have to be willing and nimble enough to change those and courageous enough to change them, because they cost money and they take risk, and everything you do may not work out correctly. But this COVID and Corona crisis has put a significant iceberg in your path. And I don't know what changes will last, but I know there's changes that are already upon us and already impacting us, social distancing for one. Those have to be accounted for. Those must be considered, maybe for a couple of months, maybe for a couple of years, or it may have lasting impacts. And some of the things we've talked about today, I know they're not going to stick, but some of them will, and you need to be very aware of that. What do I suggest you do? Action steps. Okay, if you're an investor or you want to invest, or maybe you want to buy an apartment complex, is one, put your antenna up for these changes. Ask your tenants, ask your investors, what are you looking for now? What are you concerned about in this apartment unit? And listen to what they say. Listen to other investors doing that. If you're a passive investor, then you need to be asking that of the active investor and of your current project. What are we doing to consider e-commerce? What are we doing for package delivery? And if they don't have answers to that, then they are getting put behind, because the market's changing day by day. And in this case, minute by minute. And if they are, or if I am, or you are reluctant to embrace that change and look for opportunities for advancement on how we can better serve our customers, then they're going to find somebody that is willing and more nimble to do that. I love talking about these things. I love the apartment industry. I love real estate investing. I love helping you understand these topics better, because I want you, and my purpose for you is you become a better millionaire so that you can reach your financial goals and pursue your own life passions. My name's Lane Beene. If you want to speak to me about this or any other topics, I ask you to reach out to me. My email is lane.beene@pilot-legacy.com. You can also reach me on Facebook at Pilot Legacy Private Equity Group. And I have this conversation and others like it frequently. And I look forward to connecting with you. Thank you. Be safe. And I pray that the normal life returns to all of us very quickly.